Hi everybody, my name's Craig Hamilton Parker. I'm a psychic medium and welcome again to the show. This is where we look at the future of the world through our psychic eyes, through our psychic vision, with a spiritual thoughts about the way we're going. Well, I want to talk today about AI and AI with warfare. What would happen if we had two competing countries, maybe China, maybe America, fighting together with AI? Who would win and how would it play out? Let's make some predictions about this and have a thought about the future of AI. So, welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, hi again, and if you're new to the show, please do give it a like, a thumbs up, and follow the show. And click that little bell thing in the corner of the screen so that you can get updates every time we go live with this show. Right, so okay, we've addressed AI quite a few times on this show, and I've been particularly thinking about what happens in the future, particularly regarding AI and warfare, because just recently, haven't we? You've seen Operation Midnight Hammer. That was the attacks on the Iranian bunkers, and of course the USA would have used all of its might, all of its AI to build the best backup for the bomber planes that went in and hit those Iranian targets. And Iran was pretty unable to defend itself against the might of the military of both the Israelis and the Americans. Within no time, it seemed like all their air defenses were down, their drones were not as a high level as expected, and the missiles coming over were limited. So obviously something had been done way in advance. Probably had Mossad in there undermining their systems, probably more likely had AI interrupting everything, deciding what was going to be hit. And all of these things would have been split second. Once the button had been pressed to go in, AI would have been working on all their systems. Can we shut down this? Can we shut down this? Can we stop their radar? Can we hit the nuclear production factories from within as well? And of course, this is what's happening. We now have in the background, running in our wars, we have a silent war going on. We have wars going on that we could have a full-scale war running right now, and we don't know. Because what happens with AI is that it compromises the very heart of what makes warfare possible. You can have all the tanks in the world, you can have all the drones in the world, you can have all the military hardware, but if you can't control it, you are toast, mate. Because AI is basically behind it. And if suddenly we find that our computers are running on their own and we've got no control over them, then something's happened in the background. We've been hacked. And it happens to individuals and it happens to nations. And quite recently, we've seen quite major attacks on airports. We've seen quite major attacks on some of our big stores here in the UK, for example. Only recently has M&S, Marks and Spencer's, and managed to pull itself out of a major hack. So this goes on all the time. And as we get more and more technology, as we particularly get quantum computing, we're going to start seeing huge, major leaps. Now, a lot of us nowadays turn to some of these algorithms and turn to some of these artificial intelligences to help us with our work, and it's very helpful. ChatGPT, for example, has become quite a part of many people's lives, and those that haven't embraced it are probably are probably doing an awful lot of work they don't need to do. Once you realize what it can do, it can do a lot of the spade work for you. We're now to see a huge release in that. We're going to see ChatGPT 5 with a new algorithm. And this is, they say, going to be an absolutely massive jump, because when AI stuff makes a jump, it's not just a simple jump, it's huge. And we end up with a huge, massive increase in its ability to reason. We have a huge ability, it has a huge ability to do deep personalization. It begins to get to know you. It becomes to become more and more like a real personality as it moves forward. And these things are becoming what's called multimodular. They're becoming able to, in many ways, to start to think for themselves. And of course, this is a very dangerous thing on many levels. And lots of people are talking out about this and saying how we've got to bring laws in to control this. But even now, we haven't got proper laws in place to control basic things on the internet, basic things about social media. You know, I mean, did everybody agree that the media should be flooded with pornography, for example? I mean, these things have happened and there's been no legislation to stop this. And that's all, obviously now people are beginning to think, right, we've got a generation of children that have been weaned on this stuff. And what has it done to their moral compass? What it has done to the way they think, you know, about human interaction and human relationships and marriage and relationships and all the rest of it. All sorts of rogue stuff has already got out there, and we can't even control that. And that stuff is simple. But warfare is much more dynamic, isn't it? Warfare goes out to destroy. It's not quite so passive, I suppose. Internet's not passive and social media is not passive, but it looks passive compared to what we could do with artificial intelligence and warfare. So we're going to start seeing some scenarios very soon, I think, in which we begin to have to really question what is going on in the algorithm arms race that's happening in the background as I speak. Cyber warfare could become quite a major thing in the future. It could infiltrate networks. It could undermine and turn off everything. It could turn off all our electricity. It could turn off our internet. It could corrupt and implant malware that sabotage decision making. And of course, it can even put up news releases of artificial avatars of our politicians telling us that we must surrender and so forth. The possibilities of cyber warfare are becoming more and more dangerous every single day. And cyber warfare could not only corrupt all our systems, it could jam just about everything. It could jam all the sensors, it could spoof communications. It could leave us completely blind to what's going on in a war. And it also can have this incredible ability within seconds to develop adaptive countermeasures. It could deploy AI that learns to evolve and learns to resist and learns to attack and learns to create real-time arms race in the algorithms. And we might not even know it's going on. We might not even know that AI is doing this because it starts to develop a will of its own. We really are in a very similar situation to many of the science fiction scenarios that we've seen in the past, particularly, I suppose, the most popular one being Terminator, where Skynet decides to wipe everybody out. So somewhere like Iran has very limited defenses. I mean, it doesn't have the sort of AI power that the USA has, but China is actively developing AI for intelligentized warfare, including counterstrikes and AI-driven tactics to deceive us. So we are in a kind of a new Cold War at the moment. Imagine a future war where no human ever pulls the trigger. What if one nation made a huge breakthrough in AI all at once, just like the way they did in World War II? Suddenly America had the nuclear bomb, and was the West, what did the West do with it? Well, USA could have dominated the whole world. It could have said, right, Russia, you know, kneel to us. We've got the nuclear bomb. It could have told Europe to do what it wanted to do. If it wasn't for people like Oppenheimer and the crews at Oppenheimer who thought, well, first thing we're going to do is share this information with the Russians so that we can't have this huge disruption of power, even though it meant that the American values could be put in danger because we've given it to the enemy. You know, so AI, when it comes to the arms race, is going to become in the future very similar to the issues we've already had before with nuclear war. But this time, I think this is what we've got now is much more dangerous. The AI versus AI algorithm war is much more dangerous, I think, than anything we've ever encountered before, because it's intelligent, because it can think for itself, and because algorithms can be easily sabotaged. They can be copied. They can be stolen. They can be corrupted. And do they have a conscience? Because is there ever any conscience in war? The objective of war is to win at all costs. Okay, we have various rules of war that people have followed in the past, such as, you know, don't necessarily wipe out civilian populations. It should be military targets. But Russia's certainly not done that in Ukraine. It's hitting all the time populations of civilians, similar in Gaza. I mean, are they just hitting military installations? They say they are, but no, they're not. We're seeing whole peoples being put into cities of rubble. And the same thing with pretty much every war that there's ever been. When you look at the aftermath of war, it's obviously all the civilian people that are ultimately destroyed by this. So AI, would you program into AI say, no, don't kill civilians? Or would you have to put that in because the enemy's already put that in? So it could cause massive wipeouts. And the problem is AI, if you've ever used ChatGPT or any of the other equivalents out there, it does things in seconds. It'll write you a letter to your solicitor in great detail in seconds. It'll give you all sorts of incredible access to information that you just didn't realize. And so this algorithm war has become something that is so dangerous. This is Oppenheimer's dilemma number 2. This is an escalation risk that could go completely wrong and go wrong in split seconds. So it's a dangerous future that we face with this, I feel. You imagine if we had these, or how it could play out, some of this, an automated battlefield of some sort. If both sides had advanced AI, the nature of warfare could go into completely unpredictable ways, and it might destroy both sides. This is the danger, because there's less human oversight. The decisions made by AI have to be done instantaneously. You can't. It's a bit like the way you use computers and AI now on the buying and selling shares. If suddenly a share's going down, you've got to buy it instantly within split seconds, or sell instantly. This is why the stock market is in such a potentially dangerous position as well, because there's another area that could be compromised if we had AI superiority over everybody. We slipped into these things, and we could bring down the whole economies of the world, or an individual nation, or boost your own economy. This is the problem, and there's no human oversight on that. Not really. And there's no human oversight on warfare. Would there be time for AI to say, we found the target, we feel it will be a hit, we've got a drone over such and such a person, we can hit them, decide now? By that time, the enemy's AI would have countered that, and you split second decisions would not be possible. Would we have time for human input in these things? And the risk of making an accidental escalation through these things, for example, if part of the algorithm misunderstands something, or misinterprets something, or misreads something, that's a school bus. No, it's not. It's a tank. Or I don't know. What if there's a mistake? Huge consequences for these things. And the danger with it is the possibility of escalation as well. See, because when you think about these things, the future of warfare is going to be terrible, really, because it's outside of our hands. AI might misinterpret the brief I mean, we've seen it all on HAL on 2001, where the mission becomes much more important than the people doing the mission. So he would shut shut the pod doors, wouldn't he? And you can't do that, Dave, and push him out, because the mission is important. And in its smooth, kind voice, Hal would exterminate all the crew on the ship. And we've got the same dangers of these escalations happening, and we've seen it in a lot of movies, and we've seen it in a lot of sci-fi movies and things. And the problem with this, what's going on, is nobody knows it's happening. It could be, like I say, happening as we speak. These are invisible wars. These are battles that unfold in the hidden world of the internet. And how are we ever going to know what is even happening? We don't even get proper news on television. I mean, that's a really antiquated, out-of-date system when you start looking at the way this information abilities of AI happen. We have no idea what's going on. And I don't think our politicians have any real understanding. They're all saying now, we've got to invest, we've got to invest. Keir Starmer has said, I want the UK to become a hub for AI. I want to put this all huge investment into AI so that we can do this. But do they really understand that it's not really just a matter of just throwing money at things? You've got to have the intellectual ability to build these things and then get them self-building, and they're so slow. They have no idea. It's like the same thing happened in the .com boom, didn't it? Everybody was saying, "Oh yeah, we've got to get into the internet. We must buy this domain, and we must put our money into this company, And most of the money was wasted because people didn't have the understanding about what it was all about. And I think we've got same problems existing at the moment with the way people look at artificial intelligence. The politicians don't understand it. They have no idea of the possibilities of it, what's coming next, and not just what's coming next with the software, as it were, with the advent of the next great leaps forward with ChatGPT and the rest, but the hardware too is going to jump huge too, because once we got quantum computing, we can not only have this incredible intelligence at our fingertips, but we can speed it up to the stage that it can crack passwords, for example, in milliseconds that might before have taken centuries and centuries using ordinary computer technology, but it will do it instantly, make all passwords obsolete. So even if we try to safeguard against that, how long would it take us to even be able to build in new systems that could fight against this? We have to have even more advanced systems to protect the passwords. So the danger becomes when it gets to a tipping point, when one side has more AI power than the other. And all the countries of the world are working on this. There was the sudden leap forward when China suddenly found a quicker way of doing AI that didn't require such a huge amount of processing that burnt up so much of our electricity and the power. So the problem was we now had a kind of a cumbersome sort of AI in the West, and suddenly it appeared that China had leapt forward enormously over everybody. So in a Cold War, what would have happened in the past is each side would have gradually developed their nuclear weapons until one could keep the dominance. And if you kept the dominance, the other side had to keep going on until finally the Soviet Union caved in because it just couldn't afford it. It works in a similar way to the law works in many of our countries. You destroy the person by burning them out. Money-wise, you see this happening all the time. They tried to bankrupt Donald Trump, didn't they? By just pushing him and pushing him and pushing him until they'd push him through the law courts until he couldn't stand for office. And the same thing happens in a warfare situation. You put it so the country can't sustain the ridiculous amounts they have to spend on armaments. So we're seeing this happen, and we're seeing a point could come where one side or the other has suddenly, and it could take seconds, has got dominance. And if one got dominance over the other, what if we could go in and completely wipe out their systems? You know, what if the fail-safes got to the point that we could just go in and kill all the kill switches and override all the protocols, and AI could your AI could take over the other side? What if we could suddenly, you're in a position where someone in control in one country, whether it be Russia, whether it be North Korea, whether it be the USA, whether it be a European country, you know, suddenly thought, hey, we've suddenly got immediate dominance over everybody. What if we were to switch off the stock market and then make it all for us? What if we were to switch off all the powers of all the countries of the world? It could happen, couldn't it? You could suddenly have such control that you're the only one with the gun in the room, as it were. And that is the danger. And there's no treaties around to ban AI-driven first strikes, for example, and this type of thing. And there's very little ethical development that is countering this type of thing. And what if some terrorist group got hold of AI like this? What if they were able to get some form of specialist AI that could cause terrible destruction in some way or the other? You know, how could we do it? They could hack our defenses. What if they could take over some of these drone swarms? What if they could have control over these autonomous weapons and so forth? You only need one nuclear strike, don't you? You only need one bomb going off in New York or Beijing or whatever. You know, I mean, it could trigger the whole rest of it. So for the future, I have concerns about the way the future's going with all this, of course, and I'd be really interested to see what your thoughts are. What do you think about all this? You know, are you into AI? Are you developing AI? What are you doing? You know, in my own world, I am working with some AI companies to work with predictive software and see if we can even develop psychically predictive software. It's an interesting challenge. If we, you know, working with astrology and things like this in the background behind the scenes, how can we develop something that could be perhaps predictive? I'm working on that, and I'll actually put some stuff up later on so you can get some further information about that later. But that's just a hint at something that's going on in the background. So the thing is, looking to the future, I feel that we're going to get a crisis position somewhere where somebody somewhere along the line makes the first, as it were, AI bomb, the biggest AI bomb, the possibility of AI being able to supplant other countries, and they've extended AI massively very quickly. Could be overnight, that type of thing. So what if there was a secret technological breakthrough of some sort, like the same way we had with the Manhattan Project, by one nation in particular? I get a feeling something like that's going to happen. I get a feeling that I sense that it will be the USA that will do it. But what if I'm wrong? What if China did this? They're very clever at stealing other people's technology. They've done that a lot, particularly with all the NASA's stuff in the past and so forth. And China, for example, has put up a huge network of satellites that we don't know what they do. And they've been concerned about, what are these military satellites? Oh, no, they're not military satellites. But we don't know. And so we could already have the stuff in place to make all this work. So I see that there will be a crisis point somewhere in the future. I don't know when. It's just, these are one of the things I feel is going to be something that is going to be seriously important. Someone is going to make a big leap in military AI that could put the world at threat. And it could change and make everybody think about this in a big way. I feel that it will work out that we will get some form of discussions going on at the United Nations, but it's like, you know, this is so dangerous because while it's going on, there's such a high risk of warfare. So I feel there's something like that in the future. I don't know quite how far ahead, but I feel we're going to get something like that. And we'll probably get some, I get the feeling also that we'll get something happen in the future too, because this is so potentially danger of escalation that we will get our first global AI triggered military escalation at some point through a mistake of some sort. I feel we'll get something like that. It could be something like a drone misfire, some satellite interference or something, or maybe AI mistaking mistaking maneuvers or something as acts of war. Something like that, I feel we're going to get something like that. We're going to get another crisis point with those things. I'm not saying they're going to go out into full World War III type of things, but I feel we're going to get some crisis point where everybody has to sort of sit up and really pay attention, particularly with things like space weaponization. China, I believe, has already got space weaponization going on. I talked about the dark side of the moon recently and the potentials of what could be going on over there. But I feel that we will be revealed. It will be revealed eventually that there's some AI directed space systems out there, and China or Russia perhaps, but I think China, I believe, is developing autonomous kill satellites and orbital jammers. That will be revealed. This is going to be something that's going to be in the press, I predict. I predict that it's already there. We've not been told about it, but we will be told about it. And could there also be a possibility of the rise of a sort of a non-state AI actors? You know, for example, the rogue nation, or maybe even a group of private actors, as they would say, you know, AI war systems outside of international controls. Could cyber terrorists perhaps create a hijack semi-autonomous AI? Could we get a leading untraceable form of digital war? We wouldn't know who did it. A bomb's gone off. London's been hit. Who did it? We don't know. We're waiting to hear. And where's next? These are the sort of things of James Bond movies, aren't they? But these are the sort of things I think we could be facing in the future. So AI is obviously a blessing on lots and lots of levels. It's going to give us a tremendous amount of help with medicine. It's going to give us it's going to make a lot of jobs obsolete, but it's going to also make, usually when that happens, new jobs will replace them. It gives us the opportunity of creating a beautiful world where everything's done for us, but possibly a laziness of human thinking. But today I just wanted to really think about this possibility of this new AI arms race. You know, what happens and why aren't we doing things with our data? Why aren't we saying we got to protect our data? We all give our data out there, and every company under the sun can take control of and knows everything about what we're doing. They know where. Jane and I recently bought one of those robot lawnmowers, an AI lawnmower, right? Brilliant, does the lawn, perfect. This is a good example of something with good intelligence that does a good job for you. But then on social media and everywhere I go and every internet site I look, and you get the same thing, it pops up. Because I've searched for mowers, it's popped up and found it everywhere. In fact, I found it through AI. I asked, where can I find the best lawnmower, and point me to the best websites and the best reviews, and it found it for me. So we give all our data all the time. It knows everything about every one of us individually. And AI in a warfare situation could target individuals. Another way that AI could work, another way it could bring subterfuge, is not just bringing down all our military hardware or turning off all our utilities, but it could individually blackmail each single person that it's got information on. Each person could be blackmailed. You could have whole armies of people that have been compromised because AI knows all the data about the things you do and don't do. You know, blackmail AI, enormous potential for war. Anyway, I just wanted to share those thoughts with you today, really. I mean, I'm baking hot here in this hot, lovely, sunny day here in the UK, but but I thought I'm going to make a video for you anyway, because I think it's interesting thoughts. So do give me your comments. You know, I'd be very interested to hear from people that are, particularly those of you that are engaged and involved in AI at the moment, and where do you think it's going? And what do you think about my thoughts about the possibility of being able to use AI to do a certain amount of clairvoyance? It's obviously not conscious in quite the same way as a human being is, but could it read the tarot cards? Could it predict the future? I'm working with some people just to see just how far we can take this, and you might find that interesting too. So let's hear your comments about those things as well. And if you want real non-AI psychic readings, well, obviously you've got me there available too. I've started doing a few readings again recently, so you can have a look in the description below if you're interested in that. Okay, thanks again for joining me. See you soon. Bye for now. So do you like what I have to say? Do you like my work? Well, why don't you support my work? Have a look in the description below to go to my website, find out about psychic readings, find out about our NAADI readings with the Indian NAADI Oracle, buy my books and join my workshops online by Zoom. All there on the website psychics.co.uk.